explain to me, so you did exercise physiology before, right?
No, I started off doing sports science.
Yeah.
So I used to be a chef.
Okay.
I was a chef.
No way, wow. Yeah.
Did that for like 9 years.
Yeah.
And then had a quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
So I realised I was 25 and kind of got to the end of my career line because I didn't want to take the next step. I didn't want to be like a celebrity chef or anything like that. So then my wife was like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, be a physio.
You were married at 25?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
We were engaged
at
that point.
Oh, wow.
Hold on. Where were we living? We were living out there. I was married.
That's good on you.
Yeah, I was married then.
Yeah.
And that was the year that we got married.
Cool.
And so then, like literally 2 months later, a month later, I sat for a STAT exam, special tertiary admissions test.
Yeah.
And then started uni 2 months after that.
Beautiful.
And I didn't get into physio because I wasn't smart enough.
I remember you were at class. You were really smart.
Yeah. Well, it's just about doing the things that you like.
Yeah.
So what happened in the end is that I got into sports science.
Yeah.
And my plan was 3 years undergrad sports science, 2 years master of physio, happy days, 5 years. I finished the first year of sports science and I got on the dean's list. I was like top 3 of the year, like 600 or something.
Wow.
And the dean knew that I wanted to do physio. He was like, just transfer.
Yeah.
Like you'll be able to transfer.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a tough decision actually because I was like, oh well, it's going to still take me 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I've already done a year and I'm still going to do 4 years of physio.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to finish with 1 degree rather than 2.
Mm.
So then it was a bit of a weird decision. So in the end I ended up doing it obviously, so I ended up transferring.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah.
Because having 4 years of targeted physio, like from day one, they're like, I'm not teaching you anatomy to learn anatomy, I'm teaching you anatomy to be a physio.
Correct, yeah, you're right.
So it was very specific.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that I kind of went back and did that and did the undergrad.
I remember like when I first got into physio and going from school into physio and anatomy, like it was just so hard to get your head around. But it must have been like good to come from sports science to jump into physio. Like did you find it helpful or not really?
Yeah, I did. So like I did anatomy in the first year and I aced it of sports science.
Yeah.
And then when I was looking at things that I might be able to get exemptions for when I did physio, one of the things that came up was anatomy. I was like, oh, I can get an exemption for that. And I applied and they laughed at me. And then I came in to like the first semester and we were looking at the knee joint and they were like, oh no, it's got 3 joints in it.
Yeah.
You know, and it moves and it rotates and it does a lot more than I thought it did. I thought it was a hinge joint.
Yeah.
I was like, I've done anatomy at uni, I know, but the level of what I knew was a lot less than I thought.
Yeah.
So it was really good. So instead of kind of picking up, what's a tibia and a fibula and stuff like that, it was very much the higher level stuff that I could just jump in on, which made it much more reasonable for me to do. Because it's such a large volume of it. Like,
so much.
Just the volume is...
Yeah, just everything, the whole body. We're not just specialised in one area.
Yeah, which is why, the ATAR does need to be really high.
Yeah.
Because you need to be really good at studying to take on bits of information.
You're right, yeah.
It's not so much that you need to be super smart, so to speak.
Absorbing, and also, I guess, being a physio, we're problem solvers. Like, I talk to a lot of my patients and I say I wanted to be an engineer. And very quickly I realised, like, physiotherapy, we are engineers, right? We are looking at the movement of something and seeing what's wrong with that, how can I improve that, what can we do to make this better? And that's where the word biomechanics really comes in. I think, to be a good physio, you have to have a bit of an engineering mind. And I think probably you would be fantastic with it, like working on bikes, fixing bikes, doing bike fits. That's engineering. We're trying to optimize perfect movement. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, solving problems. I mean, the thing that's interesting is that I found that some of the people that we went to uni with, who were fantastic learners and really smart people, they were really good at inhaling a textbook and getting the information out, which was amazing. But it turns out in the end that there was only a smaller amount of people that could really do that problem solving.
That's it, problem solving.
Well, and those people went on to be really good physios in certain areas.
Yeah.
And also amazing researchers.
That's it.
And it's an area that I could never go into because my brain doesn't work like that. But one of the most common things that I tell new grads when they say, "Oh, what's the hardest thing?" I'm like, well, realizing that people like books, they like textbooks.
That's it. Yeah, you can't recall. I read this on page 365. This is what it said. This is what to do. You have to use, and I think like you and I would both really understand this, that you learn on the job. You see something again and again and again, and you know, you really like, I've been seeing a lot of piriformis syndrome recently, and like when you really think about it and what's happening, you have a muscle that can be weak and spasming, and there's a nerve underneath, and if it touches the nerve, you get this feeling. You start to think of ways like, how can we optimize it, and you know, what can we do, and you know, if you can get your mind in that, I guess, set, you'll be a good physio. You know, and just you need to think about things. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Well, I think a lot of clients probably don't realise that.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're having a chat to them and stuff, and there's a little bit of silence, you're not just thinking about what am I going to have for dinner.
That's it.
Or not always, at least.
Yeah.
But you're thinking about, okay, what's next? What's going to happen? Like, you know, if this treatment works and I get them up and they're better, like, what's next? Like, do I do more or do I change something? And what if they're not?
Yeah.
And then if it is, like, what does that mean for their exercises? Like, am I going to give them this or that, or where are we going to go? And and what if none of this goes? Okay, like, do I have to consider blood tests or scans or?
That's
you know,
it.
There's just this.
Yeah, you're right.
Continuous internal dialogue going on.
Absolutely, and I feel like, look, I've been caught out in this. Never to assume something is what it is, because the second you do that, you can sometimes miss something. Like you come in, you know, it's like really obvious you've sprained your finger or something like that. Before you know it, there's a fracture there that you've missed out on. So you always question yourself, caution yourself, you know, err on the side of caution. But yeah, absolutely what you said. That's cool. Yeah. So like, tell me like, how'd you get more into the cycling? You know, were you before a physio? Were you a cyclist or what?
Yeah. So my dad rides a bike.
Yeah.
I think I got my first road bike when I was like 12. I remember mowing lawns for cash. And the deal was that my parents would match it.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's kind of where it started. So I was doing riding. I did like, you know, this New Gong ride and stuff, and riding my dad's bike club. They called themselves the Oyster Bay Old Boys, the O-Bogs. Which was funny at the time because I think they were like in their like 40s when they started it. Yeah. So they weren't that old. Yeah. But now I think the mean age is 68.
Nice. Good stuff. Are they still cycling?
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They're all cycling all to different extents. And,
yeah.
But they still catch up and go for their group rides. And,
good.
You know, there are some of them that can't ride for one reason or another, you know, because they've got currently bad health or they've had a hip replacement. Yeah. But they still drive to the cafe and hang out.
Beautiful. Yeah. Why not?
But I started there, and then I also did a bit of running. Yeah. Which I was pretty good at. That was because my dad was definitely foremost a runner. He's done a lot of marathons and stuff. Beautiful. And I was really good at swimming. Yes. I got into that because I had asthma when I was a kid.
Like me. Yeah, same thing. Asthma.
And then suddenly I was apparently good at it.
That's it. Yeah. That's awesome.
And then I did a school camp. For triathlon and put them all together. Beautiful. So I ended up doing that through my teens. Wow. I stopped that when I was 19. Did that at the national level. Yeah. And then like a lot of kids that get overtrained in hindsight. Yes. Kind of run down and overworked. When I think back, I'm glad that things have changed a lot in the current day. Yeah. Like a current day sports physio to be able to pick up on that in a team.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And communicate that to their coach.
Yes.
But unfortunately back then it was just different. Yeah. And I ended up just giving it all in and doing absolutely no exercise for about 3 or 4 years. And then one of the first things I picked up again was the bike.
Cycling. Yeah. We always recommend swimming to people with like knee issues, hip issues, swimming or cycling. And I guess like the really cool thing about cycling is there's not something you don't have all your weight going through your knees, so you can do it for a longer period. So you get good range of motion. Yeah, that's really cool.
Get outside, explore things, see things.
Yeah, exactly. So good, right?
Use it as transport.
Yeah, like European countries, that's huge for them. Other places in Asia, like it's all bikes. People can't afford cars.
Yeah, my parents are Dutch, and we lived there for 2.5 years when I was in primary school. Beautiful. So the cycling culture is just.
Yeah, I heard it's all flat.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I actually had a Dutch patient, Harold, if you're watching this. So actually this patient, he was into cycling in Holland. But then when he came to Sydney, all these hills, he just was like, what the hell? I can't do this. So he's given up now.
Yeah, it changes a lot. I mean, I think that the main reasons why cycling is so successful in Holland is... separate bike paths. Yeah. So the bike paths are separate from the road. Like a lot of the times, even in suburbia, there's like trees between the bike path and the road. Yeah. And they've even got their own traffic lights and all that kind of stuff. The second thing is no helmets.
It's cool.
And the third thing is very little hills.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh wow.
And then
sounds like.
And then actually, I guess there's a fourth thing, which is just the geography of the place.
Yeah.
Like you've got lots of little hubs. Yeah. So lots of people don't really. I mean, people still do, but not that many people travel into the city. For work, you've got kids here will get on a bus and a train and then walk to get to school, but it's very much people usually go to school in a local area.
Okay.
So the distance, I mean,
It's very small.
I think the tile. I'm gonna get brought up on this, but approximately, I believe when I checked a long time ago. But every time I learn something new, it pushes some of the old stuff out of my brain.
Yeah.
That the total area of the Netherlands is, I think it was 27% larger than Greater Sydney.
Wow. No way. All of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you can we lived like in the south end.
Yeah.
And last time we were there, we went to Bruges for a family holiday, just our immediate family afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a 2.5 hour drive. Went through 3 countries.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's the cool thing about being in Europe. You can cycle between countries. Start in France, cycle to Italy.
Downside is that you got speak lots of languages.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And like, at least you got
Right.
the euro now.
Yeah.
I lived there.
One
Every
currency.
country had the different currency, and you got to go through you got to go through immigration every time.
Yeah.
You got to show your
Change your
passport.
money. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, awesome. And so as a physiotherapist now, I see a lot of bike fits. Like, tell me a bit about that. Like, what do you find? What's the importance of a good fitting bike?
It's about trying to make the bike fit the person rather than the person fit the bike.
Yeah.
So the main things are comfort, mostly. The other thing is performance.
Yeah.
So they're the 2 main types of populations that I fit for. So, for example, I sponsor like the Aprovella racing team. So those guys are coming in with new bikes, or relatively new bikes. And the main thing we're looking at doing is really dialing it in.
Yeah.
And we're looking at performance.
Yeah.
So when I do my follow-ups with them on the phone call or in real life, I don't say, hey man, how's it feel? Is your back feeling better? I mean, occasionally.
Yeah.
But usually with them, it's like, how's your power looking?
Yeah.
And we're hoping that if we really dialed it in,
Yeah.
if there were some changes to make, that they're seeing an extra 5-10 watts in power on average for their FTP, even though it's not training, it's only a week afterwards.
Yeah.
So they're actually seeing an improvement in performance.
Yeah.
And then you've got the people that do come in with an injury.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I can only ride 30 Ks if my back gets sore.
Yes.
Or, I had a guy. Next, I had actually not as many necks as I would thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a guy day before yesterday, and he could only ride for about 15 minutes before his hands were numb enough that he was trying to decide which finger he still had sensation in.
Oh wow.
To change the gears.
Yeah. Leaning too much?
Yeah. No. Sort of. Yeah. Sort of. So interestingly, he had a fit done by the bike shop, and the bike shops they give a good crack.
Yeah.
But that's not really their job. They're there to sell bikes.
Correct.
And he had some issues with saddle sores, which he'd never had before on any of his previous bike. So they adjusted the seat, and that seemed to sort that out. But they still have the hands. The biggest thing is I ended up having to bring his seat forwards about 6 centimeters.
Yeah.
So he was, for some reason, the saddle was all the way posterior.
Yeah.
So I
just
don't know
leaning on it.
how it ended up there.
Yeah.
But just not even looking at the saddle to handlebar ratio,
Yeah.
we were just looking at the saddle to pedals. And the distal
knees were over.
the knees were just way back.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, way back. So
yes, that's right.
I took a plumb line from the superficial velocity straight down the pedal spindle. You'd expect that to just hit the spot.
Yeah.
And instead it was like way back. So
Wow.
as soon as I took that forwards,
Yeah.
it looked a lot better and felt better.
Beautiful.
But then I had to take them up like a centimetre and a half because I'd done this.
That's right. Yeah.
So this length had gotten shorter. So
Yeah.
There's knock-on effects.
And I guess that's why physiotherapists are fantastic in bike fits, because I guess we understand the body so well, and we understand the consequences of being so far back, having your arms out here, leaning on them for, like you 15 hours, but let's say, like me, 2-3 hour ride, yeah, you are going to get numb and you're going to get all these sort of pains. So what would you recommend, to people, Sorry, that was a vague question.
Look, I think as far as bike fits in general goes, that there is, if you get a bike with a physio, now there are some awesome bike fitters out there. Pave the way, Tom, you're a legend. So there are some great bike fitters out there.
Yeah.
There is a thing like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Which is why you can be usually pretty sure that if you go to a physio, that if it isn't broken, they probably won't fix it.
Yeah.
But there's no harm if you go to a physio and go get a bike fit.
Yeah.
Even if you feel like your bike's okay.
Yeah.
There's usually no harm.
Yeah.
And it's great if you're riding pain-free, but if you're looking at being competitive or you're interested in doing PVs, then definitely getting a bike fit makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest difference between physios and bike phys, which I said they also do a great job, is when I look at like their reports and I talk to them. So I work with them sometimes with some athletes, and sometimes they're looking at distance from the crank to the seat and distance from the seat to the handlebar. I don't know about me personally, I never measure any of that.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, because we're physios, I'm like, what's that joint angle?
Correct.
How many angles is the knees, and what's the force of the ankle?
Yeah.
And how many degrees of hip flexion does that have?
Correct.
How does that compare to the test that we did earlier in terms of how much hip flexion he can have before he gets impingement pain in front of his hip?
Yeah.
And can we square that up and make kind of enough leeway so he can be pain free?
That's it. And it's amazing, like I've been playing with my bike a bit, and like raising the seat by like 1.5 centimeters, the power you have, because you have your knees are, you have your quads in the right section, you're using more of the muscle, it's incredible. And people sometimes they just can't believe, like just a small change can change the entire, what we've said before, like biomechanics, how efficient your body is doing that movement.
Yeah, I did a self bike setup recently, a few months ago, I can't remember now. I got given a saddle from Saddle Repent, to trial out, and I chucked it on the bike, and because it's different smart saddle, so I need to change the fore aft and the tilt and everything, and the height because the rails are a bit different.
Yeah.
So I was, it's tedious, you got to get off and take video. And
I was going to say, how do you do that?
It took forever. But it was a nice little reminder for me because, sometimes you look at someone on the bike and you take the measurements and you're like, oh look, I just want to dial this in a little bit. They're already saying that it feels great.
Yeah.
And you take them up 3 mils.
Yes.
And they get on and you're like, I don't like that anymore.
Yeah.
How does it feel? They're like, no, I feel like I'm reaching. So you take them back down this is it. And sometimes you're like, is it just in our head?
Yeah.
But when I had that experience just recently, I had it and I was like, I think that's it. And I looked at the numbers and I was like, I could probably stretch out my knee a bit more.
Yeah.
Took it up a couple of mils and got on straight away. I was like, too far.
Wow. Yeah, you could feel it instantly.
And that was like a 3 mil difference. And I was like, I'm not just kidding myself.
That's it. Yeah. We're working. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you approach it thinking that's not going to do anything.
That's it. Yeah, you're right. Because that 3 mil could be the difference between perfect and overreaching. Then you're going to get pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Cadence of 90 to 95 every minute.
Yeah, that's it.
Do that for 4 hours. It's a lot of reps.
That's right. It's a lot of revolutions. You're right.
3 millimeters times that many revolutions is a big difference.
Yeah, 15 hours. Crazy. Right.